All right, what I'm doing right now is I'm going to address some topics and pretty good issues that I just found out because art is very powerful. All artists, as myself, is really teach the world, teach the community, teach the organizations about about history into art. So being that I'm an artist, I'm a professional artist, and I'm a producer at Brick Arts Medium, I want to reveal to you, give you some positive information on the art that I'm already exposed. It's a combination what I'm seeing now of what I've been doing, but when I got this information right here, it takes me all the way back to original of artists in Africa and what's going on now. Behind me is my art. My piece that I'm showing behind me is picking cotton. You would have, as part of our heritage, and you would have our ancestors picking cotton, and then you would have an overseer on a horse, which is one of us, watching over us. So I want to be talking some more about this picture behind me, and I hope you really enjoy the words that I want to relate back to you. I am an African American black artist who is for change and social justice. My intention is to provide an educational platform of my artwork in order to liberate the minds of many in society who continue to have negative perception of African American people with little knowledge of their history and ancestors' journey from the continent of Africa to America. This artwork entitled Picking Cotton with Overseas depicts what African American ancestors was forced to do while in captivity and bondage. Thank you. After all we went through, let's go back to here. That's why I want to bring it back to this part right here. When they first started, how we got here, how they brought us here, the chain, how they took away everything from us, the kids, ourselves, and basically property to them. So they took us from our homeland, stripped of us everything, and then they put us on this slave ship. And you can see right here how they did it. And a lot of us was jumping off, trying to get away. The below that slave ship is disgusting. But they ain't care. It was we property to them. And that's what they're there for. So when they got to the first shore, here we go. First thing to do is slave for sale. And they had all of them there. And remind you, I had did some research. When people say we're on a mission or we're going to different territories, watch that. Watch that mission. When you get white people coming to watch the mission. The mission is for a reason. They're checking everything out to see what's going on and what they can do. And that's what they did. So when they did all of that, they now became their property. And under their law, search back, it says that as far as they're concerned, we are property. So they can sell us. Yeah, okay.
You know, and back, even going, when you say back the first beginning, how it was our people selling us.
Yes.
It for the fact that we didn't know no better.
Yes.
And that's how they fed their community.
Yes, yes.
But as, you know, if anybody went to go see, what's the picture, which one played in? Oh, I can't even think. Come on, Father, work those. But anyway, no, not the James, the one that Viola played in. Woman King.
Woman King.
You look, you see where
can you hear her?
selling black people.
Yes.
So it was not only that white people was coming over here.
No.
We was being
Right.
sold by our
own people. Now,
because on that fact, we didn't know no better until we learned.
That's
So
it
in
right
that
there.
film that I was saying, Viola did,
Excellent.
her community, she said, no, we're not selling us people. No, we're not selling our people. We're going to learn how to grow crops and stuff like that, and that's what we
Yeah,
sell.
yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. And that's why I left that information for the YouTube video. It has everything you're talking about. It's right there. Another guy's telling you that he's showing you, he did his research, everything. So that way you're more educated. And that's why I gave you that. That way you be well aware, you know, just not us. Be mindful. Even to this day now. Even to this day now, we do stuff like that.
Of course, yeah.
Okay? Because it's sort of like, I'm going to get to this part right here, where after we got sold, and they just, whoever bought us as property made determination whether we're going to be picking cotton for building, you know, their industry, or we're going to be in the house serving them. Either one.
You had to be a different complexion to get
Hey, there you go.
high yellow.
So they pick it out.
So like Miss Green, she would have never made it in the house.
No. And that's how it goes.
Isn't it crazy? It's crazy.
It's the way it is, but we know
It still happens. Still happens.
it's still, that's why I said, that's what we need up right now. It's still happening through the job, through everything.
Right.
And some people, when they get too much of that, they look down on you, and the guy gonna be talking about that in the video as well.
Okay.
All of that stuff is gonna be there, and he's gonna tell you why. So now we go to the Nat Turner. Remember Nat Turner? He was revolutionary, and he got to that point where he got tired of this. Seeing our own being shackled, seeing our own being hung, seeing our own women being, you know, raped, seeing all of that. So he got to the point that he said, hold up, I got a vision, and we're going to start killing them. So when he did a master, the horror that they had, and all of them know about it. When he came, that's all, he got a group of people, and that's what they did, to stop. We didn't have that courage, so he gave us courage, insurrection. Because we're going to die anyway. So when they seen that, they said, wow. After all we did to them, they still coming back? Yeah. So that slowed them up. But then we had this guy right here called Willie Lynch. See, Willie Lynch, all the slave owners, they start realizing that people was rebelling. They slaves were rebelling. We was rebelling. So Willie Lynch came and gave them instructions in the Jones Beach in Virginia. And basically, that's where my family's from. So he gave them instructions. He said, okay, we can round all y'all up, all the plantation leaders. And he said, here's how you're going to keep them in check because of what just happened here with Nat Turner. He said, what you're going to do is we're going to put so much fear in them that they will never retaliate against us, retaliate or nothing, because the type of fear what we're going to do. So he took a woman in front of everybody, one of our own people, and they had a knife, and she's pregnant, and he sliced her stomach open and just pulled the baby out. That's fear. The men can't do nothing. He said that fear would last over 500 years, and look what's happening now. Over 600 years. You would always fear us. Only us. That's what he did. That's what he did. So now when you go anywhere and you see all these killings, and you see all these killing your own, and you see all this crazy stuff going on, and they looking at it, they said, well, they ain't coming to our neighborhood. They ain't going to do it to us because that fear is still in there, what we would do to you. So that was a Willie Lynch. And basically, this is our story. Everybody have a story. The Jews have a story. Hispanics got a story. Japanese got a story about what happened to them, about that bomb. Everybody got a story, but this is our story. Now, my goal, my mission is to turn this around and something positive. How would you give the kids or any youth or anybody turn it around? Because all I hear on the radio is the hip hop, you hear the rap, you hear this. So We just had a wonderful, excellent time at Brownsville, and it's called the event that they give back to the community. And they got all kinds of vendors here. I'll show you the video as I'm talking. And it's splendid. They all gave back to the community, food, toys. They did dancing. They got certain exercise. They did a bunch of stuff. But anyway, what I'm here to tell you real quick is that about my art. First of all, my name is Melvin. I'm a native of Brownsville, Brooklyn. Born and raised here on 289 Blake Avenue. And what I'm doing now is coming back to Brownsville and coming back to give back to the community. So I'm giving back with education. And the education I'm giving back is their culture, their ancestors, heritage culture from the continent of Africa to America. And I want them to understand that who they was before they got here, because everybody got a message. Every different type of culture, people have a message to give. So now is our message that we gave. We went through so much. And as you can see, I'm going to show you these pictures right here. It's telling you how the journey that we had went through, our ancestors to get to here. But before we got here, we was kings and queens. And the picture that I'm going to share with you right now is this one right here. His name is Massa Musa. Massa Musa was the richest, the powerful person in Africa. You talking about Donald Trump, all these other Bill Gates and all these people, and how much money they had? No, he had billions of dollars. And what he did, he helped out the community. So he's in the history book. That's our leader. That's our people. That's us. The other one is the Black Queen. The Black Queen is our mothers. She birthed us for 9 months in her stomach. And she went through so much, but look how strong she become. She's so strong and powerful, the most powerful woman on earth. And we continue being powerful. And I'm gonna give you a quick example of how strong we are. Because after all they did to us, how they brought us here, how they stole it. Now, I'm gonna give you a little information about that situation.
Peace, love, and light. Family, what's good, Does Nation? Shout out to the gang, man, for real. Appreciate all you guys. So today's video is a topic that I got asked from a couple of people, including my father. I've been asked by subscribers on this topic, so I'm gonna try to make this one as quick as possible. And my hopes for this video is not to tell you what to think, but simply to spark a thought and evoke an emotion in you that's going to lead you down the path of searching, doing research for your personal enlightenment. Okay, so as I always do on this channel, I always tell you guys to do your own research and don't take what I'm saying for face value, but to come back to this channel and fact check me if I'm lying. Go do the research and go on a search engine that's not censored like Google. You can go on Bing or search engines like that. Also read accredited books from accredited scholars and researchers of multiple different backgrounds, not just European background. Okay, so the topic for this video is, you know, if Africans were so great, how did they fall? How did we fall? How did we become conquered? And how did we become at the, you know, perceived as the lowest of the low? Now, this is a good question. One thing I want to bring up is that African people are so diverse. There's not just one type of African. I said it before, there's over 3,500 African languages. There's multiple different backgrounds and tribes and things of that nature. Now, if you observe North Africa in modern day time, you'll see that they're not even black. They're heavily mixed, descendants of Romans, descendants of Greeks, descendants of Spanish, descendants of, you know, Eurasian people, right? And so one thing that I want to bring up is that African people, and by African people I'm talking about Kemetu, which translates to black people, or Memphites, Thebians, Cushites, which translates to literally people like me. We were avid travelers and avid traders. Okay, it's no secret anymore that we already, you know, traveled across the whole world prior to what they tell us in 1492, Christopher Columbus finding the New World, when it was already inhabited by African melanated people. In fact, the first island that Christopher Columbus went to when he went on his voyage was to the island of Hispaniola, which is modern day Haiti and Dominican Republic, and he actually had the help from an African that had to show him how to get there. And when they got there, they were met by the Taino natives, and they had these gold coins and gold pieces. And when Christopher Columbus and of course his people asked them, where did you get these gold pieces, they told them that, oh, there were these other, you know, Africans that came that brought this here in good fellowship and left these here for us. And so when we understand that, we can understand that Africans were always traders. They were eager traders. And so when the Eurasian came over to the border, they coming as, you know, traders, it's not something that happened, you know, like that. It took time as the Africans got, you know, a little bit more familiar with the Eurasians. You know, they started to bring their beliefs with their trades and their products. They started to bring their beliefs with their trades. They started to, you know, eventually send out missionaries. And we have to always be wary of missionaries because it's right in the word. They're on a mission, right? And so what happened was, as these Eurasians made it deeper into the African territory, they started to observe the actions and study them, right? And so they would go back to their kingdoms and their land, and they would tell the stories to the people about, oh, how they had all these resources, and they're sort of primitive in a sense because they're not using their resources for the masses to outsiders, but they were rather just keeping them there, kind of like preserving. Like, we used all the gold and the copper and all that stuff, but it wasn't to a point where, you know, we were exploiting the earth, because we were on one accord with the earth vibrationally. And so what started to happen is, as the Europeans started to get more into African soil and territory, of course they brought ideas, and things started to change. Certain Africans started to adopt different ideologies of those people and things of that nature. And so as that started to happen, you know, slowly but surely, they started to get conquered. Now, Africans, yes, we had great armies, we had technology, despite what they tell us, but it is, from my belief, based off of my research, you can feel free to disagree and go do your research. I believe that we were ready for war with tribes like ourselves. We had our spears, we had all of these different things, especially guerrilla warfare tactics. But I do not believe that we were ready for people that had guns or stuff like that. So we were ready for warfare with tribes like us. But I believe what happened was, through many different avenues, they were able to come through and conquer. One of those avenues was religion. They were able to bring in their you know, Muslim, Christianity, things of that nature, because we must remember that Arabs are Caucasoid type of people. There are Eurasian people, and they still follow the age-old tradition of covering their face from the scorching sun. Now, as I always tell you guys, you know, as a scholar, I never want anybody to believe a word I'm saying, but to just go do your own research. And so what happened was, a lot of people don't know that before white Europeans, you know, white Caucasians enslaved Africans, we were enslaved by the Arab Caucasians. Yes, they're Caucasians, okay? And so that was the first thing that happened. So they brought their beliefs and their religion, and we started to disassociate ourselves with who we once were. And I always talk about how the #1 law of an African is to know thyself. So if we don't know thyself, if we don't know who we are, we're going to fall. This is actually a one of the 48 laws of power. Is if we get put in isolation and we don't know who we are, and we're, you know, disconnected, we will be conquered. And so what happens was, as these Eurasians started to come in and intermingle with the population, they started to breed. And this is where we have the mulattoes. This is where mulattoes come from. Now, in the US and other places, there's something called the 1-drop rule, which means that if you have a ounce of African blood in you, you are considered black. In Africa, especially in Upper Africa, North Africa, where we can observe that the population is pretty much white, it was the complete opposite. The offspring of the conquerors that were mulattoes, that had white blood from their patriarch clan or patrial lineage from their dad's side, they were viewed as white. Even though they were, you know, half and half, they were viewed as white. So they were viewed as a superior race, and they started to adopt those thoughts and ideologies. And so what happened was, as time went on, the half-breeds, so to speak, started to mix with other whites, other half and halves. And so they literally at one point became more Eurasian than they were African, because they bred it out of them. And so now this is why you can observe people in Morocco and Egypt, and you can look at them and be like, they're not black, like they're so mixed. They look very interesting, but they're more European or Eurasian than they are African. And this is why. And so with the mulattoes being perceived as upper class, you know, and you know, superior, they used the mulattoes to conquer Africans like myself, dark-skinned, black, Kemetu Africans. Now, don't get me wrong, there were mulattoes that identified more with the African heritage and, you know, identity, that actually fought against the Eurasians coming in and conquering and raping, enslaving, and colonizing. But the majority of them chose to take their privilege as half and half, but be perceived as white and superior. And so you take that and you understand that with that mindset, with that cancerous mindset, they were able to impress upon the people through religion and other force tactics that they were inferior, that they had to worship this God, that they had to worship that God, that they had to denounce all the spiritual practices of their ancestors. And so you do this for hundreds and hundreds of years, and you have where we are right now. It's a lot more deeper than that, but I wanted to make it more simple, and I didn't want to make it too lengthy for the purposes of this video, but I wanted to kind of summarize it all for you and make it quick. So thank you for watching this video. If you have any comments, make sure to comment down below, and let's get a healthy adult discussion going on. And as I always say, don't believe me, go do your research and come back here and fact check me. It is not my job to make you research or make you believe me. I'm just here to make you think a little bit and do the research. And so when you observe history and you observe how we were able to be infiltrated by trade, religion, missionaries, and things of that nature, and be conquered from our own, including mulattoes that had our blood but that were not fully us, you can understand how we became conquered, especially with us not even all speaking the same language. We spoke many different languages, And so this is why I always bring up the story of Haitians. They took many different slaves from many different tribes and areas and brought them to the island of Hispaniola, and it took Haitians over 150 years to create one language they could understand, Creole. And then once they could all speak and were on one accord, they were able to successfully revolt and kill over 50,000 Frenchmen to create Haiti, aka the Kingdom of Haiti, and you know, become the first major successful black independent republic. All right, and so that's all for this video, family. If Africans were so great, how did we get conquered? We have to understand this. All right, so stay blessed.
I wanna give you a little information about that situation, because although we had the Caucasians, but you remember our own sold us out as well for liquor and all this other stuff. But what happened when we got here, before we got here, all the stuff that we had to go through on the slave ship, being sold on the auction, being in the cotton field, going through the Jim Crow, and with the Nat Turner and Willie Lynch, all of that stuff we went through, and they looked at us as property. They didn't look at us as a human being, because they sold us and everything else. But all that stuff that we went through, that's why I want to tell you how powerful and how strong we are with our black queen and our king. We end up, and that's what's messing them up. The more we know about ourselves, the more strong we get. We end up being the president twice, rose up like that. So think about that, how powerful we are. No matter what, they can't keep us down. And we became president twice. So it's that type of power and strength that we have, keeping in us. And they won't be teaching this in schools or in the institution. They sort of like keep this away from us about who we are, how much strength that we got. But we have it, and that's what I'm doing right now, is bringing back to the community, educating you folks out here about your culture, about who you really are and how you got here and how strong you are and how rich you are. So based on that, again, my name is Melvin Eisen, and I want to thank everybody for listening to me. And this was the Brownsville event, and this is Saturday, June the 3rd, 2023. And it's a great, great event to give back to the community. Thank you very much. And it's a great, great event to give back to the community. Thank you very much.